Hi everyone, and welcome to a new episode of T-Minus Podcast. Today our guest is Alex. He's the CEO of Trailblazer Games and Eternal Dragons. How are you today, Alex?
Pretty good, thank you.
Yeah, welcome to the podcast. Very, very nice to have you here so we can explore more what you're building at Eternal Dragons. Before we start, maybe you want to give a bit of your background, what you were doing before Trailblazer Games, and how did you kind of reach Web3 and, create a new studio?
No, absolutely. And first of all, thank you, Marco, for having me in your podcast. So I've been in the gaming industry for over 15 years, and I've seen several transitions of both technologies, but also paradigms in terms of business model, in terms of platforms and type of games and user acquisition growth and so on. I'm originally from Chile, so I speak Spanish natively. I grew up there. I started my first company, which was a platform for distributing games. And it got acquired by a Finnish company called Digital Chocolate. So I ended up moving to Finland. I lived there for a couple of years, where we saw something relatively similar to what we're seeing today in terms of the transition from, by then, feature phone games, so pre-smartphone, to free-to-play and more of the modern kind of games that you see today. We also saw the transition through social games. You may remember or not, games like Farmville and those kind of games. Those were really successful by then, and we were reaching audiences, orders of magnitude bigger than we had ever done before in gaming. So that mass adoption and mass reach of games was something that happened primarily because of the new free-to-play model. So it was essentially free to start playing, but of course there was a process there where you were, as you progress in the game, you would want to own certain items that were important to continue progressing and so on. But that was a really important moment in gaming history, if you will, that created part of the success that we see today, and how games are everywhere on our mobile phones, and especially how mobile free-to-play is over 50% of the market share today. And that's something that started during those years. So there was a lot of learning because nothing of that existed by then. So we went through that journey, spent some time also in Barcelona. At the height of the social games, I've been at EA, later in San Francisco, where I was driving globally the whole platform for analytics and CRM and personalization from a product perspective, and which brought us, really great learnings. And we were bringing together information of players from different platforms in order to use that information for improving the experience. And then I created my own company around that called Omniata. We raised close to $10 million in venture capital, and we have some of the biggest game companies also as customers, which including EA itself, but also King and Supercell, even Spotify and others, until we got acquired by King, and lived in Stockholm for some time as we integrated the technology to that stack. I've been at Microsoft too, where I was running growth for a recent acquisition they have made called PlayFab, and after that, decided to start now Trailblazer Games. We saw the opportunity of leveraging blockchain for the next generation of games, and I brought essentially the best people I know in the space to help me, build this vision, this dream. So my co-founders are Andreas Riesenberg, who has been leading the product for Candy Crush at King, and before that he also came through an acquisition where he was developing 4X games at a startup that got acquired by King, and Bertrand, who was at SimCity and other really important titles, both at EA and other startups later, who has also a strong background on blockchain. So with that team, we decided to start this project, and Yeah, we very quickly attracted venture capital, and we announced recently our $8.2 million dollars of seed round funding back in March. And since then, we have kept growing, kept busy building on the vision of Eternal Dragons. And we are now through the sale of our NFTs, which is about to come to an end. But it's been a really exciting journey that took us all the way here.
Yeah, I mean, you have a stellar team for sure. And what you're trying to build is, I think it's very, very hard. There are a lot of challenges. And so let's say, why did you kind of decide to build a game on Web3 while, instead of going to the more simple route of probably a Web2 game?
Right. So the Web2 games on mobile and free to play in particular, I think it's been saturated now for some years, and it's really hard to really find growth there. It comes with a huge investment in both capital, production value, and user acquisition, and there hasn't really been much innovation in that space. Generally speaking, for some years. And when we saw the first glimpse of how DeFi and blockchain can enable a different kind of interaction and engagement with games, we saw the opportunity as being really driving this transition of gaming toward their next stage, something we've been waiting for many years, perhaps since the transition to free-to-play that I was mentioning. Specifically, games, and especially certain genres, they rely heavily on their economy. The design of the economy is what makes the games. It's a big part of the fun of the game. It's about building. It's about owning. It's about trading. It's about creating armies. It's about being competitive and grow, right? And they have been successful on their own without a connection with other players. So the secondary market aspect that blockchain brings, I think that it's capable of taking that economy and making it global and connected to the real world, in a sense that your ownership is not anymore your ownership of something virtual that only exists in the game, can actually be translated into things that affect your real life, and in a decentralized way with values that are really not currently present on how you develop games. The sense of ownership and belonging and contribution to a project on Web3 is something. It's probably the most important values that we like to bring into building games. But what's really crucial, though, on this new stage is that the games themselves needs to be fun, needs to be something that you want to play by the value of entertainment alone, not just as an incentive for the economics behind. So we thought that bringing the ownership aspect, the community aspect, the supporting the project and be part of that from the beginning, and not having this participation to be closed only to the initial team or the initial investors that conceived a game, but rather open it up for having the players themselves to somehow participate and own and engage in different ways that are meaningful and that help the project actually be successful and contribute with feedback and in general, just driving the growth and the excitement around the game. We want to combine that with high quality games that stand on their own, that you want to play because they're extremely fun. So for us, it was really obvious that there was the potential here of taking games to that next stage, and we jump on it, and everything that we have seen really supports that hypothesis. So we're really excited to see the traction and to see the engagement from the community. But that is the main reason. It's bringing the values and the vision on Web3 and the sense of community and ownership to games, because that can take games to that whole new level where it's much more meaningful for the players that are part of a project.
Yeah, I very much agree with everything you said. I think the transition at the beginning from, let's say, normal games where you just bought your way in and to free to play, there was a lot of resistance from the gaming community, but they slowly kind of accepted, because there are pros and cons, like in anything, you know. And yeah, I think at the moment, probably every games see their users just as a number, you know, how much I can actually take from there, how much I can extract from them. And we have seen like several times games that just came out and the community was just raging against them. Like they never really built something with the experience in the first place, but more on the monetization side. So what's kind of, how do you approach like listening to community while also, you know, focusing on your long-term goal? Because there could be a lot of noise along the way.
Yeah, it's a great point. I think that it's been a journey. We've been learning and listening and evolving throughout this month. I would say that first we were really thinking that we were building games. Like, here's a product, we're going to have it out. And by the way, we should start building a community that we release the product to. What we found is that the community really engaged with the long-term vision of the project, and instead of them, we realized that the product really was the community itself, in a sense that what we are actually building is a roadmap of content for all the people that believes in that vision. So, and that's one of the key pivots, the key aspect that one has to keep in mind when building, you know, this new generation of games, is that the community really is at the center. And what one creates is a roadmap of content to help the community grow and to fulfill that vision that one has shared with the community, and to listen to the community to inform that decision and those product decisions as well. So it's a process that starts from the very beginning. From the moment that we share the vision, we already start receiving feedback that we start incorporating into a roadmap that start influencing and updating some milestones. So, for example, engaging on why people believes in the project, why are they engaged? We made some updates to some of our products in the roadmap, like breathing mechanics and certain collections and certain attributes for those characters, because we thought that it was going to, based on the feedback, it was going to fit much better the profile of these owners. And we start creating essentially these segments and say, okay, if you only want to play the game, maybe that's exactly what you should get. It should be free. You should play the game. You should enjoy it. You wouldn't have to pay. But if you want to progress and move faster and really became reach the top levels in the game, well, you're gonna want to have a really powerful team, and then they start getting the value of trading that on the secondary market that you get from blockchain. So you start getting the value of blockchain incorporated into the game if you come from a games first perspective. But you can also perfectly come from an investor perspective and say, I want to have a strong team or a strong portfolio that can be useful for the players in the game. And your game essentially as an investor is going to be around, I want to make sure that I have the best collection that can help other players be successful, even if you're not necessarily playing the game. So that distinction of people that play the game, people that owns but don't play the game, it's totally fine for us. But that was part of the learning. We realized that we want to have different offers for different profile of segments of people, because they engage with the vision and with the project of Eternal Dragons with different objectives and with a different way of contributing and being part of that. And I think that's important, that we give space for delivering those different experiences to different segments. So that's the kind of feedback that we have gathered throughout these months, and that have influence in different ways our roadmap. And it continues to be the case, especially now. We met many of our community members in a recent event, and the feedback there already helped us a lot to continue to shape the roadmap going forward. But I would say broadly, we are generally in track with what we thought originally, but at the same time, the priorities have switched in a sense that we want to make sure that we continue to grow our community and that we are delivering value as soon as possible in the form of meta games and content that help us show the progress and educate them on how these different assets are important and relevant for the games that are coming, how we are making progress towards the vision already.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. It seems you've always built with a user's perspective. So you always have your audience in mind, what they want to play. You build around it. So that's actually very important. I see like some studio that they just as we say before, they just want to build something, either that you like it or not. That's what we build. But yeah, I mean,
Right.
is a very smart approach, and because at the end you're just trying to convince your user base to play with your game, and not find other source of entertainment. So it's good to build with that in mind. And yeah, you said you just come back from a very big event. It's probably was your first event for Eternal Dragons, right?
Yes, and it came really organically. There was a lot of excitement going on with as part of the sale that we decided maybe it's time to get together, and then we announced our first Eternal Dragon conference in Berlin, which we did it last Saturday, and we announced it with just 1.5 week of notice time. So it was very like, if you're around Berlin, even if you want to meet us, let's share, and we have some cool update. But things start like really picking up in terms of interest, and then we have people traveling, driving for over 20 hours to be there. Some brought their families. Some slept in their cars to be there. So it was such a level of enthusiasm that it was really humbling, and it was an amazing reward for us and a source of energy to continue pushing forward a project. To see that type of engagement, and we took the opportunity to share some of the updates, some of the things that we've been working on, and give some rewards also to the people that again made those long trips from different cities all over Europe to get there. And and we announced our builder program, because we are essentially enabling a platform and providing a platform to allow others to engage with our dragons and do more with our NFTs in different and creative ways that we haven't yet even thought about what this could be. And that's the cool part. We think that the community can do a lot with that. We announced the last affinities, which was a bit of a surprise, which is something really powerful, really special that is actually going for sale next week. We announced also Eternium. We had a really cool video that we share, that we also did like record time to get people excited, because essentially the way we see this is a story. This is history in the making of the Eternal Dragons universe. So we started with the Genesis dragons, to be born, and now Eternium is started to be distributed to people in the community, and which together with Descendant X will enable the next generation of dragons to breed, and those are the characters that will populate essentially our upcoming games. So we did that milestone of essentially announcing that new content, and a lot of other things too. We share how we've been doing art. We share a lot about our next game that's coming, and we got a really positive feedback. It was such a great vibe. We had a lot of fun. We had a good party. We got to meet each other in person, and again to build that trust and that sense of belonging, and that is so important. That I think is pretty much the definition of Web3 projects, of believing in that vision of being part of that project and taking that to the real world, and not just supporting a project that appear on the internet, but actually meeting the team that is making it happen. And from our perspective, meeting the people that are believing on us was a fantastic event, really. So we're looking forward to the next one. We haven't yet planned it where and when, but we just want to make it happen soon again, because again, it was so positive that definitely something we're going to do as soon as we can.
Yeah, I can imagine this level of engagement. I think it's very hard to reach for any more traditional games. If we remove the very big IPs, I can see this. But for kind of work in progress games, it's very hard to keep this level of engagement and traction, especially if we look at the general condition of the crypto market. So how do you guys think about keeping the community engaged and always have them in mind?
Right. So we come from a live games world, right? The thing is that traditional games on Web2, they are launched, or well, you have soft launch, but essentially, of course, the milestone is to have a game out. In this case, what's live is that the community is engaging with the vision and of our product, and initially with the content, in particular the Genesis Dragons and all the characters that. So what we do is that we continuously, on a weekly basis, have a set of initiatives that we are prioritizing, that we're developing, that we're measuring, that we're communicating, and we learn. So we launch something, we learn what the impact was. Is the community liking it? Is it growing? Okay, here's the next thing that we're going to try next week, and this is the next thing that we're going to try next week. So for us, it's all about learning as fast as possible, and the best way of learning is to do it directly with your customer, engage with them on a continuous basis. So right now, essentially, we consider ourselves. I got this question from a good friend that was saying, "But Alex, are you guys live with the Eternal Dragons?" And I was like, "Yes, but I can't play the game." Well, we have the game of collecting the Eternal Dragons right now, and that is a stage towards the main playable games themselves. And we consider ourselves to be live in a sense that we are engaging with our community, we are having initiatives, we are delivering content, we are educating them on the new game, and we are keeping it up to date with what's coming next. And that requires that mentality of thinking of a community like not something that is just there waiting, but rather it's alive, and we are driving a roadmap forward to continue to make it grow.
Yeah, well said. I see. Maybe touching more on the platform, you guys are built on Solana. There are several kind of blockchain, except from Ethereum. We all agree kind of that is not, at least at the moment, without layer 2, is not the right platform for games. I guess there are a few choices on the market. So why maybe you guys decided to go on Solana rather than, let's say, Polygon or other platform?
Right. So we did a lot of research when we started the project of the different networks, L2 and L1s, and we felt immediately very much aligned to the philosophy of Solana in terms of how it empowers developers to create more. The speed and the innovation of Solana was a big part of the value proposition, and still is. And of course, the efficiency associated with that. It's a new network in a sense that it doesn't have perhaps the capitalization that you see on more traditional networks. But we're not here for what there is today, but what's going to be there in the future. We have seen already that transition happening between network, in a sense that the NFT market, for example, that was almost non-existing a few months ago, has really grown to levels in so many cases higher than Ethereum, even within Solana, which tells you a lot of the great momentum. And when you focus on the experience, exclusively in the experience, then you realize that they're innovating way faster, and many of the things that you see on the vision or on other networks are actually happening today in Solana. It has such a great library of tools that one can use and start building on based on that composability. There's their DeFi libraries, their marketplaces. They're all sort of really powerful libraries that one can build on top of, and essentially get faster to deliver a great experience for the end user. And that's super aligned to how we think of the value proposition. In fact, we would like to hide as much as possible the technology aspect on blockchain and focus on the benefit for our customers, for our players.
Yeah.
So in that sense, we couldn't be more aligned with Solana's vision, and also the speed and the of development and the innovation that they're driving, including their Saga phone and some other awesome stuff they have in the roadmap. They move really fast, and we move fast too. So it's a great match. We think that together we will continue to innovate in the space, and what the world needs now is to see the value of blockchain, not just look at it from that's the technology where you own certain coins or tokens, but rather what else does it bring to people's life? And for that, you need a really strong development platform. And I think that Solana has been fantastic at creating that ecosystem to build, again, value add products on top of it.
Yeah. I mean, Solana, it's true, move very quickly. It seems to be very, let's say, more quick to build on Solana rather than on other chains. And for sure, like the kind of support they give to the users, it's probably unmatchable. But yeah, I mean, what kind of were the main challenge when kind of additional challenge you had while building the game on Solana?
Honestly, we haven't really have much challenges. I guess that things move really fast on their repositories, so one needs to be up to date with the latest. And they were at moments, I remember they had quite some challenges, perhaps victim of their own success. The volumes of traffic and requests per second you see in Solana, it's order of magnitude more than what you see across all the other networks combined. So it's incredible, and that's because they're so cheap and they're so efficient what they do. But at the same time, that can cause congestion. And I remember there were some challenges with congestions before we started minting. So we were kind of like looking at, okay, this is what's happening. Let's monitor the situation. The fact is, when we got into our own minting, everything has gone so smoothly. If I remember correctly, we did the other day more than 500, almost 600,000 requests during the first 5 minutes of our NFT sale, which are huge volume. These are like global credit card transaction volumes, and that's only our project. Well, we got a lot of demand during those minutes, but it tells you about the scale and robustness, and I think they have addressed the challenges they have identified. But we move forward fast. Honestly, it's been I haven't even thought about any challenges on Solana for months because I think they have addressed them.
That's great. Yeah, I mean, at the end, I believe like anything crypto, Web3, it just needs to be considered as a technology, as a tool. I don't think that a game might be better just because it's on blockchain, but it's kind of the reason why it's building on blockchain. And yeah, maybe I want to go back more on what are you building at Eternal Dragons, more of the product itself. So let's say that we are a few years in the future. Mm-hmm. How does Eternal Dragon look like?
Well, it's gonna be an ecosystem, okay? And you will be part of Eternal Dragons, and you will participate in different ways. It could be part of your identity. You will have you will essentially be part of the community and will be engaging with other people in the community because you have that shared interest, and we have really cool art, and that makes you want it and be part, and it reflects your values. We have people investing that will own essentially different types of assets across our universe, which including land, including fungible tokens, of course, including the dragons themselves, including units and new type of characters that we will release in the future. We're going to have really competitive players that will be building their own reputation, that will be winning on different championships, but with the difference that they will be capitalizing and in the game in a way that allows them to grow to next levels. We have a concept of guilds within Eternal Dragons that is much closer to build a company. So in a sense that you could have partners, and you can have shares, and you can receive capital, and you can start hiring other team members to participate, to contribute with their assets to grow within the game. And it's not going to be one game; it's going to be multiple games. Most will be developed by us. Many others will be developed by partners, by the community, and our characters, our content will be also part of people's life in ways beyond the game. It will give you access to certain benefits associated to that lifestyle. You will be able to use them in other games, in other kind of media. We even have had discussions around series and how can these characters, this dragon, be part of media and people's life in ways that are interactive beyond gaming. So there will be new kinds of media, new kind of way of interacting with content that we want to be in the front of defining what those will be. So essentially, Eternal Dragons, we expect, is going to be an important part of the life of the people that are part of our community, because it will touch different aspects of their life. It will not just be the game that you start and play, a few times a week. It will also be something you own. It's also be something that opens up doors in ways that games don't do today. So you will feel proud and will be pushing for the whole universe to be successful, because you want it to be successful, because you're part of it, you own part of it, and it will be a strong community around that. So this universe will be made up of our platform, our games, partner games, and partner applications. That means that are going to extend the universe to touch different parts of life of the community.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like a super massive project. Definitely building an IP takes a lot of strength and a lot of time. But your idea of opening up your IP to the community to build something something additional that not every team can build everything. So of course, opening up your IP to have other people working with you, even if it's not directly, I think it's an amazing idea. What kind of that was just announced in the event you mentioned before. Have you seen, let's say, what's the process like? Have you seen some interest already in the community to build something with your IP?
Yeah, well, actually, someone already came with some applications, a browser plugin that you can use when you go to Magic Eden, and it overlays additional information of our dragons on top of that. That helps you make better decisions when you're buying dragons. And we've been approached already for all sort of use cases. We're in a very, very, very early stage, so the functionality available is very simple. But at the same time, we wanted to have it to start engaging already with developers and their ideas to help accelerate certain aspects of the platform based on what those needs are. So rather be early and with a small scope than trying to build this big platform and then make it available so we can develop it together. So right now we are essentially listening, having these conversations, and helping in however way we can to enable some creative use cases that we've already been approached. But it's been really cool to see that traction.
Yeah, I mean that's good. It's all the power of a strong community behind your project. It's probably the most important part in Web3 to build together. And yeah, I see like that's a very, very big strength that not all the company, not all the studios are actually focusing in. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I would like to touch a bit on the role of guilds that you quickly mentioned before. What kind of, let's say, what does that look like? What a guild can do and how can they develop on the platform?
Right. So I think that the way we have architected everything is that we have a platform level and then we have applications on top. And you can think of our games as application running on our platform. But other applications can also interact with our platform too. Which means that we will provide the APIs for borrowing, for buying, for lending, for anything that you need in terms of interacting with the assets of our universe that allows guilds, existing guilds to operate within our universe. But we have plans for integrating the experience of guilds to be much more part of the gameplay itself than just being an aggregation of assets that happen outside the game. We are not honestly a big fan of that type of optimization. We have designed really carefully our game mechanics to ensure that you're entering a field that is competitive and that no one has a unfair advantage. So, but you still want people to team up and to play together, and especially when you have different talent engaging together with a shared mission, we want to power that, and we have seen that already, in existing games. So you should think of guilds in our platform to be much more of this company creation of these being partners within the game, and we will make the experience to be fun and to be something that's part of the game, that is not just a grouping of assets for speculation, but rather is going to be how bringing together this asset and playing together can help you succeed and grow within our universe.
Fantastic. I have a last question for you. This is more kind of general life advice for our listener. If there is something that you learn over the course of your career, doesn't have to be like Web3 related, but if there is anything you want to share that kind of improve your life or improve your way of thinking.
Thank you for asking, and happy to share my perspective. I think that the answer really is different for each person. Each person has kind of their own drives and passions. But what I have learned personally is that if you follow your passion and do something that you like to do, you can be much better at it, and you can really push the boundaries of innovation globally. So one of the things that happened to that I've experienced, and it wasn't just myself, but kind of the whole team some years back, and I'm referring to those days on free to play, there was this whole new world, right? And one gets used to read other blogs and listen to other smart people, and we kept pushing forward on some ideas we had until we realized that nobody has ever done it before. So the feeling of nobody has ever done it before, we are innovating in a net value level globally. I think it was an amazing realization that essentially, if you keep iterating on something that you really love, that you're really engaged, you're essentially going to end up in a position that nobody else knows about that space except you and the team around that. And that feeling of contributing to innovation in the world is probably the most, I don't know, addictive feelings that I that I've experienced, and it's so rewarding to know that there's nothing written that is not other paths to follow, but that you will define them yourself. And I think that the only way to get there is really just follow what you like to do, what you're passionate about, because otherwise it's hard to really get to those levels, because someone else that is more passionate about that would probably have walked that path. But that's really, for me, perhaps what's been driving me the most. So trying to continue to find what is that limit of knowledge on certain space that I care about, what keeps me pushing forward. And perhaps also the name of our company, Trailblazer Games, is around that. It's a let's push the limits of what gaming has been and is, and let's find what that new frontier is. So I think that's a shared value for a company, and it comes down to what I was mentioning in terms of the thrill of innovating and bringing together people that are passionate around that subject to again keep pushing that frontier further and keep on discovering new worlds.
Fantastic, Alex. It's been great talking to you. If people want to reach out, how can they contact you?
Just send me an email. It's alex@trailblazer.games. That's the easiest, and I'll be quick to respond to the extent possible. But of course, you can also comment publicly on Twitter, or ping me on LinkedIn. But yeah, easiest, just email me. I'll make sure to provide a quick answer.
Perfect. Well, thank you everyone for watching. I'll see you in the next episode. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye.